Yeah. So a few things that I've saw during the week, more across the ditch over in America, was some interesting innovations and interesting situations coming up around this COVID period. Where, first off, did you watch the series Some Good News? There's a YouTube series put together by...
No. I did hear about it though, yeah. And it was getting a lot of coverage by a lot of people because of the...
Yeah, so
It
it's
actually presented
really
good
popular,
news? Was that what it was all
and it was
about?
presented by John Krasinski, which is an actor in The Office and has been on a few movies, and he just pretty much crowdsourced all the good news and creative things that people had done while they were in lockdown, and he presented it in a YouTube video that would run like a news segment for about 20 minutes, and raised millions of dollars for nurses, for food charities in the US.
So how did he sell the is it just a donation?
A couple of the things, he got Pepsi to come on and sponsor. They threw $1 million into to whatever that segment was. And he then, towards the end of the series, had created an online shop for the creators that had come up with different ideas throughout COVID to sell their products. So he exposed a lot of creative people that wouldn't have necessarily been seen. And this video was getting 8-10 million views per week. And it went for 8 weeks. It ran its course as the restrictions and lockdowns have improved and the virus has come under control. He sort of ended the show, and now it's come out that it's been bought by a network commercial company for an undisclosed amount of money. And it seems to be, there's an uproar around if it was the right thing to do. He's sold out, as they say. So what do you think about that? No, it hasn't been disclosed.
Do we know how much?
There was apparently a huge bidding war for the rights to it. I don't even think he's actually going to be on the show. So it's... Yeah. So it's more around the naming and all that sort of thing. But what are your thoughts on selling out like that?
How is that selling out? That's probably where I'd be. So if I developed a show that helped people, okay, Casey Neistat is probably who I'm talking to. The boomers of the world won't understand who I'm talking about, but yeah. So he's a guy who had a following on YouTube and sold out to CBS, or one of the big news companies, and sold everything to them to try and build a news service that focused on localized news. It was a complete failure. He got $20 million, I think, for it. The backstory of it was he was able to pay out a lot of people that invested in him, which might not be the case in this one, but you never know. So you've really got to look at sort of where is the money going? It's probably going... It might not be going to one person. It might be going to a group of people. It may put a lot of people who were on the fringes of a job into a full-time position, which was another thing that they sort of pulled out. So the economic wise of it, I mean, it sort of makes a little bit of sense there. You probably have a program that was not it wasn't this drama program, or it wasn't a gossip program. It was a positive program that's getting good air, so it's probably good from that point of view. But is he selling out? Well, what does he do as an actor?
A small project, and people have argued that it was put out there as good news and free of charge. That
is it still going to be free though?
Well, it's just going to be on TV, and he was doing it out of the goodness of your heart. I think that's their argument. It was goodness of your heart, and then now you're getting a check at the end, and were you trying to get a check the whole way through? Which I think is pretty disappointing, because the amount of money he's raised for charities, it just doesn't even compare.
It's cancel culture.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. You do something wrong, you get your life ruined. I I don't see the problem. I don't see where the downside is. A big company gave some money to I don't know how rich he is, but I doubt he's a multi-hundred millionaire. He doesn't have a huge amount of money. Is a positive project. It's now a positive project, or I'd hope so. That if it continues to be the same thing, yeah, I think it's a good thing. It Yeah, and then it encourages other people to sort of get into that space as well, to sort of think about what can I do, that helps. It's just a shame that people, look that way. I see no problems with it, but I am strongly a capitalist, not a
Okay. Well,
communist.
then you'll probably like this next story around Pasquale's. I think I've said that right.
Pasquale's.
Pasquale's Pizza and Wings, a new virtual company that was created during the lockdown because popular franchise Chuck E. Cheese, which Australians may not know, is a restaurant that sells pizza, but it also is a kids' playtime, has video games, ball pits, and all those fun stuff for kids. So it'd sell average pizza, and the kids would have a ball in the ball pit. But now they've managed to create another company and sell pizzas and wings out of their kitchens that are currently closed with the virus, and they're selling it under a different name. So they have claimed that the ingredients are premium and the pizzas are different, but people question that if there's no difference in the quality. They're just leveraging a boutique brand.
I think that's where the world's heading. Who's the guy? The guy who started Uber. One of the Uber founders has gone out on his own and started a company that offers communal kitchen arrangements, which sort of focuses on the Uber Eats delivery type scene. I think we're going to see a lot more of it. It's just rebranding. It's not a new thing. I think probably the way that they did it may have been a bit more subversive, but it happens all the time, Okay, take the example of Target and Kmart. Was it Kmart? Could have been Big W, one of the two. Owned by the same company, basically do the same thing. Now that Target's closed down, they're rebranding everything to Big W. It's the same thing. I think it's good that people have got creative in this sort of environment. It keeps people working. It kept the doors open. It's pizza. People need to eat pizza. I think it's very creative. We've seen a lot of people try with the Zoom training and the Zoom, dance classes and the Zoom sort of gyms. It hasn't gone down too well. I don't think I think people really go for the interactions, which is what it seems. You take that away from it and it hasn't, it doesn't go really well, but I applaud the effort and the ingenuity, but I don't know, the naming. So apparently Pasquale is one of their characters because they got like 4 characters that perform. So, they did leave hints in there. It wasn't totally hidden, but I think it's not a bad idea. I think they've done well. Hats off to them.
It shows also the barrier entry is zero. It's simply creating a logo and a brand.
Pricing.
And you're into the market.
Yeah, I think the issue you've got is people will try a lot with pricing. It's very easy to sort of sell something and get it going. Just thinking about
Target and Kmart for a minute, it's interesting that we are like the Kmart stores are surviving and flourishing when they're just mass produced. The whole model is mass produced now. I think I don't know if it's Indonesia or China, and at that low price, quality's reasonable, but it is just simply, it's not really a retail store. It's a mass produced all you can get.
They did change up their pricing, I would say 2 to 3 years ago. No, probably not even that. So they they tried to provide a middle ground, sort of a middle ground experience, so to speak. So it's a mid-range pricing, but then they just scrapped it. So once the internet and the online shopping really kicked off, they just went as cheap as they can. Sort of, it got a lot plainer in the things that they sold. They reduced the range and just did a lot more bulk. So it became a very, very cheap store, which seems to still get a lot of the sales. So, it is a race to the bottom, which is the scariest thing. And Amazon is probably the best example of that. They were always the cheapest. They don't add a lot of margin to what they do. I think it's like 1 or 2% margin. Might be that low, but it's a very, very low margin that they add on to the thing of every product. And look how big the business is there. Biggest company in the world. So if you're the cheapest, you will get a lot of the work. Trying to differentiate yourself based on quality or other things like that certainly limits the markets that you can sort of move into. So it's sort of, it's a very niche sort of area. So yeah, it's branding. It works wonders. Pasquale's, try it out. But yeah, I don't know. I think, I hope we see a lot more. I think we'll see a lot more ingenuity come out of these next, maybe out of this next, out of this crisis. Sorry, it's probably the biggest crisis that we've dealt with in the information age, I would say. So if you look at how Uber changed the world and the way sort of taxi services operated, it was just sort of forced onto everyone. Pasquale's sort of pulled something out of the box. You might see a few more sort of polar shifts in the way that industries work in order to survive. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. I don't know, how do you feel about Uber? Yeah,
Terrible.
Good or bad?
The main reason, after reading stories of when they first started, they moved into India, and they were trying to promote themselves, and they said, we'll give you a loan to get a car so you can start become driving, and you'll be guaranteed X amount of dollars of revenue each month. And what they found is that was all good until everyone was an Uber driver and there wasn't the money to go around. So they put all these people into car loans that weren't making any money. So there's a lot of stories like that, but they have changed the industry at the end of the day. I don't race to use them, but then I don't race to use taxis either.
No, I don't think it's a lot more convenient, and that was the thing that they sold, was a much more convenient experience. I mean, I remember the days when you used to wait 40 minutes to 2 hours for a taxi. And you can get that down to 5 minutes. You can smash through government regulation to get there, because taxis were protected by the government for years and years and years, and no one ever thought to challenge them. And then this company just rocks up and goes, hey, we're coming in. You can either like it or lump it. It's progress. Is it a good thing?
It's here.
I don't know.
And quality of the
machine
service
will move
did
forward.
improve.
Yeah, it's here.
The company's one thing, but their service has improved. Riding in transport. So there's always going to be trade-offs.
But I've always shunned global corporations. I was always hoping that there'd be a move back to more of a localized, community-based way of doing business. But it seems, as we've been talking about, the pricing always gets in the way, that people just want cheaper. There was a study done years ago on the effect of what a shop like, I think it was Kmart, has to small town America, and because that's where all this sort of stuff happens. But the amount of money that one shop sucked out of the actual local industry decimated small towns. So rather than having the money bounce from gym to the post office to the butcher, to the small clothes store, and keep circulating around the town. It just flew straight out. So what you've got is a small area with a net negative effect on their income, and basically the town just slowly dies. So as a concept, large corporations poorly affect rural or smaller areas, but it's hard to come up with a model that would actually help keep that money in the area, because you've got to price it like cheap. Once you sort of get one person sort of living off the income, it's hard to beat the pricing of a $4 item, because people just can't make money on it. So yeah, from that perspective, I'm not a fan. From the hammer that they put to the structured system around taxis, I like it, but a lot of people were hurt by it. I just thought it was very interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting way of, they just opened and just said, hey, just deal with it.
And the complacency of the government and the taxi association that didn't maintain their standards. They thought they were too big to fail. Yeah, exactly. I think what will come out of this whole situation we're currently going through is a lot of people talking about they would want to buy local, continue to buy local, but after 3 months, similar to like the bushfire appeal, we never hear about that anymore. Will they continue to buy local, and then will price just go straight to the top of the list?
Always does. And I think it needs that does need to change. And it's just you'll continue to see an ever increasing poverty difference between the rich and the poor, until you start to get small communities of people working together to sort of pool. I mean, I know a lot of people sort of do work together, and you sort of see that groups or communities that do work together are able to pool community assets and sort of develop things that way, rather than everyone trying to work individually to get ahead. It's just nowhere near as effective. So, if you get a group of sort of 10 to 15 people working together, they can get a lot further than one person trying to work on themselves for 20 years. So they get more further in that 1 year than that other person does in that 20 years. So it needs to change, but I couldn't work out how to change it. No, I'm sure smarter people than me put time into it. But yeah, I think when things get bad enough, it will change. So, maybe this is the catalyst from it. Viva la revolution.
Hopefully. Any last words you want to add?
Yeah, we seem to have reached a new phase where businesses are starting to open up again. It's time to change the view on how you're going to approach that rollout, and how you're going to sort of pick up that market. Expect a smaller or a harder to navigate market, and what are you going to do to be at the forefront of people's mind in front of that? A rush to be the cheapest isn't always the best option.
Okay, I'll speak to you next week, Dar. See you later.
Thank you, Chris. Enjoy.